Welcome to the WAVIT podcast recap, where we discuss the latest WAVIT podcasts.
We are here to offer women in AV and IT valuable resources for your professional development. Hi, I'm Carol Fili-Vario, and I'm a founding member of WAVIT. I'm a project manager with 20 years experience in construction and AV industries, and I'm currently a senior program manager at Diversified.
Hi, my name is Caroline Dunn, and I'm Vice President of Marketing at Wasiga. In this podcast episode, we are recapping episode 6 with title hosts Chrissy Sara and Lex Evans.
And our guest is the infamous Heather Best, Senior Program Manager at Diversified. I have had the honor and privilege to have worked with Heather as a client and as a coworker. She is just an absolute force to be reckoned with. She's done wonderful things for our industry, not just with her work and professional contributions, which are many, but her leadership and social equity advocacy. And I've been honored to be a fellow member of Diversified's Women Empowered group with Heather. And I love any chance in getting to work with her. I know she even said that she occasionally will, one of her scheduled bits is to reach out to people. And I'm lucky enough to be one of those people that she reaches out to at times.
That is awesome. So I love the podcast, and Heather's background was super interesting to me because she used to work in Abu Dhabi, the capital of UAE, United Emirates. And that's in the Middle East, where she was not only working in a male-dominated industry, AV and IT, but also in a very male-dominated society, and she was very successful there. So respect. So to kick off the recap, I learned a new term when I was watching this podcast called sticky floor. Now, Carol, have you heard of sticky floor?
I have heard of sticky floor. So we'll go ahead and play this clip where Heather introduces the concept of sticky floor. Then we'll talk about it a little bit more.
Floor is, if you see a job on LinkedIn, you might look at yourself and go, I'm probably not qualified. I'm not going to apply for it. Where our male counterparts will go, sweet, apply. They're taking that chance. So like this year is our year to get up off that sticky floor and shatter those glass ceilings. Like, let's go.
Wow, that was great.
Love it.
I was so impressed. So this whole, I see a job, I want to apply for it. That's the setup for the article that I published for Commercial Integrator magazine this year. And we talked about systemic barriers. Like you see a job posting you're totally qualified for, and then you hesitate. Why are you hesitating? Men aren't hesitating. Why are they not hesitating? And so I'm going to link to it in the description field below if you want to get into it. But I mean, essentially, that's what happens. We hesitate as women. Men are like, I got to shoot my shot. I'm not even qualified for this thing. I'm going to shoot my shot.
Right. And it's apparent in the data. I mean, we've gone ahead and looked at some data across the board. Thank you. And this is, let's actually go back for a sec. So we'll give a little explanation of the glass ceiling versus the sticky floor. They are closed concepts, right? But the glass ceiling is an artificial impediment, an invisible barrier that mitigates against women's access to top decision-making and managerial positions. So that's kind of where you would top out in a business scenario, right? Your company, your CEO doesn't like to work with women, so there's a glass ceiling, right? Or things like that. So those obviously are becoming less and less of an issue, but it's still there. And the sticky floor is an expression used as a metaphor to point to a discriminatory employment pattern that keeps workers, mainly women, in the lower ranks of the job scale. In other words, the societal issues of saying, you're not good at math, so you can't be an engineer, right? Or you're not good at this, so you can't do that. Or you're a woman, you shouldn't be in a boardroom. And then women internalize that, culturally internalize that. And then you say, hey, I'm not going to apply for this job because I don't think I'm qualified, even though you're more than qualified and more than capable, right? So capable and qualification are two different things, but we don't always teach women that they're capable of doing things. And that's where the sticky floor comes in. The gender distribution by management level. So this is all, this data is all from Advanced Gender Equality in Business, which is a not-for-profit that monitors industry data globally across the board. So the link will also be in the description. But if you look at particularly the tech industry, this is pretty sad. Women hold 20% of the top managerial positions in tech industries. This is across AV and IT. We're 50-50. Women versus men in this world. Why can only 20% of the 50% of women represent top management? And even in non-management positions, we're barely over a quarter. Again, recruiting women to the tech industry is a start, but also hiring up women through the ranks. A lot of times managerial positions like this, or top managerial or middle management positions, are filled by women who've proved themselves in other industries, whether it be business or banking, who then go into top managerial positions at tech companies. We don't always hire through the ranks. Is that because women aren't advocating for themselves, or is that because we typically don't advocate for women? Right? That's that question. Why is it on us? Right? So some interesting data to look across, and then globally, and without a specific to tech, this is where women stand in leadership. Obviously, the higher you get in leadership, the less women we have represented. But if you look at industries on the left, the non-management positions, women and men are pretty close. It's not as equal as it could be, right? But what is that disparagement that goes all the way across into top management? It's pretty jarring looking at the data. And this is why Caroline and I think the data is important, because this kind of stuff is a snapshot of the reality. The reality is not so nice sometimes.
We as women who work in AVIT, we see this reality every single day.
Absolutely. We live this reality.
We live this reality yes, absolutely. But to see the numbers and to see this graphic in front of me, it's sad. It's pretty just in your face with
I hate it.
this. So thank you for putting this in my face.
I hate it. But I mean, but we make up, gender-wise, 50-50
of the population.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it because of the expectations of adult women and family life? Is it other expectations, right, against societal questions?
All of the above.
All of the above,
Yes.
right?
Yes, you're right. All of the above. There's so much going on, and we've been told, gender. I mean, when you look at, I get told about, okay, well, this millennials versus Gen Z versus, like, I've been told, hey, everybody's been raised differently, or all these generations operate so differently. But then I look at the women, and I don't know. I don't really see a lot of difference between the systemic barriers, the systemic things that women are told, no matter what generation you're in. I think this spans all generations.
I think so too. Because so much of it is, maybe things are better. Can't deny that things are better. I mean, they're better for me than they were when I started, but they're not there, right? They won't be there. What was it that Ruth Bader Ginsburg said? When there are enough women on the Supreme Court, when there are 9, to her, to the point was like, why should it be 50-50? Why? It's been 100% men up until now. Why can't it be 100%?
Yeah, what was wrong with that? Nobody said there was anything wrong
right?
when it was 100% men.
Again, like, this isn't like, the she woman men haters club, right? But there's data to be looked at here, and DEI and social equity initiatives are so important because of these disparities and this data disparity.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, So anyway, just so many questions. So I think we're still in problem identification in some aspects of it. So what do we do when we are told somebody continues to perpetuate these stereotypes, who brings on the systemic barriers with us, stands in your way? What do we do? And I loved what Heather had to say about this. And Heather's going to say what is on her mind, and she's going to say it over again. She's not going to say it and be sorry. So let's see what Heather had to say about this.
Like I've said many times, if somebody doesn't believe you, then they're a waste of your time. Move on. Don't
find somebody who will.
waste your energy.
Yep. Right.
Move on.
What do you have to prove?
Don't waste your energy. I think what she's not saying is you might not be able to convince them otherwise.
Right.
Let them. Yeah. So instead of trying to change their mind, to find the path around. Go around them. Do what you need to do. But yet you might not be able to change their mind. So you just got to do what's best for you. That's what you can control. Right.
Right.
Yes.
And like Chrissy said, find someone else who can. And also, it reminded me of what Althea said in episode 1 of the WAVIT podcast. That's a you problem, not a me problem. If you have a problem with a woman in a boardroom, I'm a woman in a boardroom. That's not my problem. That's your problem, right? Like, and it takes the blame out of it, right? I'm not to blame because I was born female. I'm not to blame, right? Because of your opinion. I don't know who's to blame for your opinion. That's a you thing. I'm not going to dissect your opinion.
Problem.
That's a you problem. Right? I have a lot of other things to do.
But yeah, exactly. I have other things to do. I am busy. Okay. I've got other. So maybe I can't convince this person, but I'm going to go around and I'm just going to keep on moving. I need to,
Right.
I think her other message is don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Like we need to be good time management people too. And so if the company you're working at is a toxic environment, so they did kind of talk about this during it, there are companies like Diversified, and Carol, you said to me off camera that you agree that that Diversified is a great company, a non-toxic environment for you to work at.
Yep.
Right.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree.
So there are places you can go work that are non-toxic. If you are in a toxic work environment now, then let's stop wasting your time and start moving on to somewhere where there are companies out there that exist that do empower women, that are non-toxic work environments for women. And I think that maybe it's a better use of your time to go look for that instead of.
And we talk about the amount of women who are, or the low amount of women who work in technology. Are we dispersed in many toxic environments? What if we all just got together and picked one that wasn't toxic, right? Like, there's power in numbers. And if we're sort of spread out and all dealing with these issues, well, how do you end the issues? Well, you stop adding to the work, right? You stop participating in that work. Find a company that does appreciate you for your skills, right? I've been lucky. I've worked for places before. I worked for a company previous who somebody referred to me as, oh, I talked to the girl in the office, and she said, I was the girl. And my boss at the time lost his mind. He was like, oh, do you mean my project manager? Like, her name is Carol. She's not the girl. He very specifically called out the behavior because it was disparaging, right? And like, he's like, she's another human being. She's not the girl. Also, I was like 35 at the time, like, very far from being a girl, right? So there's a lot of those opportunities come up, and you don't have to own the behavior, but you can correct it.
Yes. So if you're in a toxic work environment, so I've worked in toxic work environments. I haven't been as lucky as you. And basically, what's hilarious about working in a toxic work environment is after you leave, the whole thing collapses like a house of cards.
It's great, isn't it?
So that company's gonna fail anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to be on a sinking ship, or do you want to jump off before the thing sinks? Sometimes it turns out you were the one holding up the whole ship,
right?
And they failed because you weren't there for them anymore, because you moved on to a non-toxic work environment. Think about that.
Right? There's no need to support the bad stuff. Find the good stuff. Right? Was it that there's a quote like, worrying is like praying for bad things? Don't pray for bad things.
No.
Yeah.
Use your time wisely.
Use
Move
your time wisely.
on.
Right.
Yeah. Just don't waste your time on people, right. So that don't believe in you, that don't support you, that aren't advocating for you, that belittle you. Don't waste your time. Okay.
There's people out there.
There are plenty of people out there who will support you.
Yeah.
And we hope that's WAVIT, and we hope you'll join WAVIT.
I was gonna say, we're right here. Yeah.
Yeah, a little plug for WAVIT here. Like how I worked that in,
That was good.
All right. So with that said, where do we go from here? So we have one more clip for you, and we're going to talk about, I love this term. There were so many concepts. There were like little key words in this episode that I loved. So the key word that we're moving on to now is shared responsibility. So let's talk about that.
Us as women to stop putting the responsibility on us that we need to be doing X, Y, and Z so intently, and emailing these executives every other day, and putting all these initiatives forward, et cetera, and say, okay, here we are as women, here's what we've done, what are you going to do about it now? And putting that responsibility as a shared responsibility, not something that's, well, we're done doing it, now it's your turn, we kick a ball over the fence. It's not that. It's learning how to share responsibility among those teams that can actually drive true change. I do feel like this is a great time for a woman-focused podcast.
It's a great time for a woman-focused podcast, kind of like the WAVIT podcast.
Let's not even go into the recaps. But I couldn't agree with this more, right? Like again, that's a you thing, not a me thing. Like I will focus on, can we focus on advocating for ourselves? Absolutely. But our presence alone and us getting off the sticky floor, right? Just moving on. Not spending a lot of time thinking about it, moving on, doing work, doing your thing, learning, move on.
So before I played the clip, I mentioned I have worked in toxic work environments in the past, and this really hit a chord with me, because if you're in a toxic work environment, yes, everything is on you. If you're like, oh, well, hey, here's a problem. They're like, okay, you need to fix it. It's on you. It's your fault. That's what you see in a toxic work environment. Unfortunately, it's never their fault. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always, okay, what can you do better? Oh, this was your fault.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you are not in a toxic work environment, maybe Carol, you can talk more about how you're not to blame for everything, or it's not all you have to do something.
It's a team. Mm-hmm. Leadership is a team. Your project is a team. Heather even said it. She has people on her team. She can call at any time. So do I. I work over a few programs. I have amazing teams on each program, and a lot of what we do as management is relationship building. And we build these teams, and we play our part. We do our job. We do our thing, right? You're good at this. You do this. You're good at this. You do this.
Oh, yes, she did. Yes, she did talk about right? that.
And it's choreography
on each other's strengths.
Right. And, you need different types of hammers in your toolbox, right? Not everyone is going to be good at one thing. And that's great. That's great. Like, it doesn't mean that you're not valuable.
Reality.
Right. And you work together to do this. A toxic environment is when you're out there by yourself and you're responsible from A to Z.
Better at that.
And you're told you failed because you're not good at A through Z. Nobody can do A through Z. A team of people are meant to do that. Right. And that's the difference. That's a non-toxic work environment. I mean, adding in all kinds of gender and whatever, ageism, one of the things that go along with it, and ableism. But we're talking about just overall the expectation has to be manageable. And the manageability of working in a team is so much more reasonable than being out there on your own all the time. You can't be like that.
No,
it doesn't.
No,
it doesn't work that way. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Okay. So with that said, shared responsibility. We're no longer going to put it all on one person. Now expect somebody to be good at A through Z, everything. So with that said, Carol, do you have a book recommendation for us?
I've got books. I love books. All right. So first book is Pushback, How Smart Women Ask and Stand Up for What They Want by Selena Rizvani. Just an excellent overview of really just learning to speak up for yourself, right? And learning to say, no, I'm not going to take your crummy opinion. That's your problem, not mine, right? These are skills
that's the you problem.
Exactly, right? These are skills we have to learn because we've been taught otherwise. The second recommendation is Your Dream Job in Audiovisual, Don't Just Fall Into It, A Guide to the AV Industry and Finding Your Perfect Job by Denise Hughes. Denise Hughes is a AV recruiter. She's been doing this for a very long time. It's an excellent read. And it just came out. So it's very, very, very timely. It came out in October of 2024. So it is a good one. So you should check that one out. And those are my book reviews for this episode.
Thank you, Carol. Excellent as usual. And there you have it. We are Carol and Caroline, aka Team CNC, bringing you the episode recaps.
And the best business resources, and the best business resources and data and books for women in WAVIT. Please subscribe to the WAVIT podcast so you don't miss a thing.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.